everyone, it's Cheryl Millett here live at 5 for a Saturday. Now, I was going to wait until tomorrow, even Monday, to come on, but I wanted to come on today primarily because things were fresh in my memory. One being the protest here today in Toronto at the Digestive. Now, this is the second one I've been on. In Toronto here, just being guided as to when to go to this protest. And I just felt strongly about going to this particular protest. And it was interesting. So I want to talk a little bit about it. I've got some video. For some reason, I could not book down for today. I just couldn't. I wasn't able to do it. So I just wanted to come on and talk about that, but a few other things as well. And I was able to talk to a handful of people, if not more, just spending the time, walking or spending time standing there. So when I first initially got out, actually I want to go in, stick with the same format as in, well, welcome to Live at 5, which is supposed to be only one video, Live at 5 Monday, so I did that for a year or more. But during this, what I now call a pandemic, yes, it's an absolute exercise, and in so many ways. We're learning about things, learning about each other, but learning about what the government's about, learning about what control's about, learning all kinds of things, more than we'd ever do. So that's the positive, if we stick with the P theme. But I want to just bring up something very quick. But tea time, as in time. So we have these many herbs in our garden, these many plants, and I'm reading about foraging, reading these about the plants. I had no idea we could use them for tea. But thyme is very good. It helps with catarrh. Now, not everybody may know what catarrh is. It's like mucus. It's like toxicity that causes the mucus. And so it's very good with that. And I'm just going to put my pinhole glasses, if you remember me talking about pinhole glasses. And I'm going to read, because the lights, as much as it looks a little bit bright here, it's not for reading. So this just takes complete stress off the eyes. But medicinal uses, and you're gonna use it as tea and steep it for a while. And the oils within the thyme, that's in this case made into a tea bag, but you can collect your own thyme and make your tea as well in your own time. So when it comes to medicinal uses, yes, it's a tonic. It calms down things. It can, now let's just see here, I know it said earlier, beneficial for sore throat, catarrh, which I was talking about, mucus, wind spasms, colic, and even allaying fevers and colds. So thyme is generally used in conjunction with other remedies in herbal medicine. This is a very old book, but at the end of the day, so thyme's been around for a long time. So that's why I wanted to come on. But you may not have the thyme as a tea buy up, but you may have thyme the plant. And you can collect some, probably a couple of sticks, something that doesn't even have to mimic exactly a full tea bag worth of thyme. You just pick off some. Like if you do mint tea, they're usually just picking off a few leaves of mint, and they're fresh, and then you just let it steep. 10 minutes usually a good rule, and you don't have to have boiling water, but that's, that will take out the oils and the essence of it, and then you can drink that either cooled or with honey and things, or you can mix oregano in there. Now we're going to be our home brew garden and with herbs. So let's go back to the protest. When I arrived at the protest, there was hardly anybody in the Dundas Square. I was absolutely surprised that there wasn't that many people. But then I tuned around. I'm going to post a bunch of pictures, and I have the videos. Like I said, I couldn't do a live on Facebook for some reason. Just wouldn't connect. But the pictures you'll see, there's a lot of police officers. Now some were saying they were trying to do a G20 position, which is getting positioned in pods all around. Somebody there even told me that they saw across the street at one point in time after they arrested the person who was speaking, I was trying to get her name, and I could have just, one of the names that was kind of on there is probably one of her on the poster that they had, Hugs Over Mass. But at one point they blocked off Yonge Street, even though there really wasn't a lot of people or any people on Yonge Street itself, but there was a cop car on either side. When I went to cross and was speaking to some people across the way, they had said they actually seen the paddy wagons at Nathan Phillips Square. So there was a bunch of paddy wagons there. Were they possibly going to arrest? Were they planning it, or were they just thinking just in case? And apparently, as I was walking around, somebody said there was a horses around around the block as well that were ready. So I'm not quite sure what they thought they were going to get into, or whether or not they were planning. But one young gentleman said that the way what they were doing and what they looked like they were doing was getting prepared to do like they did in I guess it was G20. And I hadn't been on that one, but this one guy did, where they actually corral. They keep moving in and they get into position, and they're able to get into a position where they're able to corral a group of people that are in the center of this protest, and they then arrest people one by one, and you go in that. So what really was kind of amazing, and at some point after they arrested the person, and then somebody else had some sort of a, I don't know if they had their own speaker or whatever, couldn't see, because the cops were still being in front of the stage. But it looked like everybody was spread around, which I guess is good, on Dundas and on the other side of Yonge Street and over here and there. And it was so interesting to talk to people around there about what was going on and what they were saying and connecting with people. Some people definitely talked about God, talked about the energy, talked about this is good, this is just like it's written in Ezekiel, I think he said. And very knowledgeable, very calm, and we're not talking fanatical speaking or anything like that, but just kind of lining things up. And so that was awesome. But then, so I want to get into Poland here. At one point, when we were walking across, I think it was Bloor, to John Tory's condo, he was trying to drink some water, and he had his little sign underneath his arm. I said, "Here, I'll hold the sign for you while you drink your water." And of course, I just didn't hold it down. I held it up. So he was taking his time drinking his water. We were having a conversation. He is from Poland, and he's been here a number of years. And what he told me was, he says, tomorrow in Poland, you have to start small or little. And I'm going to tell you more about that, what it is. In Poland, he actually, the villages and the small towns, villages, small towns, bigger towns, bigger and bigger and bigger until you get into the cities, are going to open up their businesses. They're just going to all open up their businesses. This is the plan in Poland. And the plan is to keep doing it until they get out to the Baltic Sea. And he mentioned that because I guess he listens to the Polish news or Polish newsletters on what's going on out there. So isn't that really exciting? And there were, he said, big protests in Austria, Paris today, and that's what he knows of. But he can imagine, oftentimes we're hearing what's happening at the tip of the iceberg, and there's still much going on. There's more underneath the water, underneath the radar perhaps, or underneath what I'm even hearing that's also going out around in the world. So great news. Great news. But back to the protests a little bit. It was funny to see the cops having to scurry, and the bikes and the cars, not knowing which way we were going to go, changing directions here. So it was interesting on that front, but there was not enough of them. I'd say there definitely was dozens of them. I mean, if somebody told me there were 100 of them, I would say, yeah, there probably is in its totality. Not necessarily right there in Dundas Square. There was probably like 20 there, 20 there, 40, 50. That's probably what I would have been comfortable with, but there may have been more kind of coming in as we went marching. I don't even know if the marching was supposed to happen it seems like it was supposed to happen, but there was no real police escort like the previous one that I went to happen or not. I just heard that there was speakers going to be there, but it was interesting. The person who got arrested, she got arrested. She was speaking to the law enforcers there about the law and about how they were there and how they cannot arrest and all of this stuff. And she was citing um, information, she was citing numbers, citing the code, citing all of that as well. And she just kept laying it on and laying it on. And I'm not sure if that's what triggered it, or it was the intention to do a arrest, at least one arrest. I don't know, but I can say that she just kept going on about rights and law and lawful, and she went around earlier because I remember she's coming around. She'd get be in a spot and there'd be a dozen people kind of being able to listen, or at least a handful of people. I was one of them, and listen to what she was saying. She's saying if a cop came up to you, then what you would do is you would say nothing, do not engage, and put your hands in your pocket and walk away. And walk away. That's what she was telling us to do. And if you felt threatened at all, then there was a pocket of people just behind the stage or beside the stage to walk into that space where there was a group of them, and you would be okay. That's what she was saying. But I think most of why Dundas Square was probably the way it was primarily because there was so much police presence and they were just scattered all over. But when the protest came, or the marching came, then you could see there was all these people. I definitely would say there was 1,000 or more people, or just under 1,000, but definitely that, just from the pictures. I stopped at one point, I was at the front, and stopped and watched it come through, and I couldn't even see the end, and then joined back up again. But that was one thing. That's what I wanted to talk about. I met the TTC worker. She had no idea what was going on. She'd come up for a breath of fresh air from the Dundas TTC entrance, and I chatted with her for a bit and told her what was going on. And she was not pleased to see all of the cops there. That was a little scary. And I think in some ways when you see cops done up the way they were they had the batons, which comes way back from Ireland. They had the batons, they had some bag on their leg, I'm not sure what that was for, the vest, everything. Like they're just all done up. Some yellow jackets, some not yellow jackets. And it was interesting to see them whisper to each other when there was something going to happen or they needed communication. Some would leave from some little pack or a little pod of them, and then would go to the other pods and make sure that they communicated something. So that was interesting to watch as well. I wish I could have gotten it on live, some of these things, but that's what that is. So the idea of protesting and coming out is probably in light of what's going on, all levels come into play. So not wearing your mask, being in tune with what you can and cannot do. And this is the thing I wanted to say about the police. Just listening to a little interview, just that my husband was on, was that police are not allowed. If they thought there was a party going on, they could come in, but generally, no. At all other times, the police, without a warrant, cannot. You have your privacy, and they cannot just come into your house and without a warrant. And they don't, as far as personal information, say, where are you going? It's none of their business. You don't have to tell them. So if they, for some reason, get on their high horse, get bored, want to scare a few people, then they might, they just may do, but they're not supposed to do that. So I also wanted to let you know, as well as that, around privacy and around your rights and what police may or may not be doing throughout this scenario. And you will probably hear more and more, probably same people on here, that really the hospitals are not overwhelmed. The doctors are saying that we are not overwhelmed. Why do you keep telling people that we're not overwhelmed? we have hardly anybody in this one. There's X number of hospitals, there's X number of people that you're saying that are in ICU, and it's not the case. So what is really going on? I think this is a pandemic experiment or exercise. At the least, it's just that. But I believe there's more going on for sure. It does definitely has to tie in economics. It cannot not tie in economics here because it's already unfolding it, and the continued lockdowns speak to that. It speaks to the economics of what's going on, the closed ears, the not listening, the not listening to and bringing forth both sides of science. Is just so not logical in so many ways, which is why people are protesting. That's why they're doing that, because it doesn't make sense. You don't have an isolated virus, therefore the test is irrelevant. And the injection, but I was shocked to listen on the radio that they call it the jab. I was like, well, you gotta be kidding me. They're actually calling it that. That's what Gates called it. You know, jabbing in the arm, and he did it with complete drama when he did it. But the idea is, yeah, I you know, if I gotta think about which radio station that was, I don't even know which one it was, and then call them out on it, because that's ridiculous. We don't need to be calling it that. So, what else did I want to talk about? So, good news, good news. The one thing I wanted to talk about, you know, as I'm coming back and I'm doing the subway back and forth, not wearing a mask, and there's hardly anybody on the subway. Hardly anybody on the subway. So they're probably abiding by these restrictions for sure. Was not to be too loud. That's the one thing I find in having discussions with people. It's not about being loud. I'm not loud. They're not loud. They believe in masks. That's their prerogative. They can believe in masks, but we're not too loud. So when I was walking back from the subway, there was a couple of older people, I'll say. They could be in their 80s. Didn't ask them how old, but they're both from Germany. And I was telling them some things about it, and he kept asking, and he was having a good conversation. And he was actually, as people were walking by, come around. She's telling us some interesting info. And so it was very light, but at the same time, just talking like this and being, I want to say kind, but just not too loud. That's what I want to kind of say. We don't need to be loud. When we are loud, we are bringing in almost of a wave of energy that can just slam people. Whether they know it's energy slamming them, they can feel it. And this is what we don't have to do. We do not have to be too loud. We're not, there's not the need, because the people who are way on, if we have to think of as degrees, believing in the masks, believing in what they believe, it makes them feel comfortable at one level too. So we don't really want to be so scary to them at the same time. Them scary, we scary. But the idea is we don't need to be too loud, because that will cause people to step away, to not listen, and all of that. So I kind of just worked with that, because that's what I was going to talk about tomorrow. Or one lady was smoking. So after speaking to these lovely two elderly couple who, we talked about this and that and masks and what's going on, and it was about this event currently, what was going on. And then I was walking and I saw somebody who was smoking, so mask down, or I think she had a scarf, and she was smoking, and the other person had her mask. And so, yeah, I just said, I'm curious about the smoking thing. So anytime you feel like a smoke, you've got to take off the mask, obviously. You got to take it down, and, obviously outside. And yes, and the other person says, I don't normally wear a mask, but I'm wearing a mask because my friend's most comfortable, but she's the one smoking and doesn't have the mask on. Anyway, we chatted for a little bit, and I could see that, the beliefs were different between the two of them, whether they were friends or relatives, I don't know. But that was that encounter, and they were happy to talk, happy to talk. And then, yes, some neighbors walk by, and those elderly couples going, wow, this is interesting stuff, and you know them, and she knows you, and they go, yeah, she's amazing. And they said she knows where we help food. So that their young son, one time when, because I get the eggs from the farmer, and he was out, and they have 3 young kids, and I said to the boy, the oldest one, do you want to come foraging? I'm going to go pick some berries, and do you want to come? He says, yeah. So I showed him where the few spots is. Well, he never forgot that. So this is the one cool thing about adults, us older people, adults, and younger children, is they really like to be brought in to the information, knowledge, wisdom that we have. They really do, outside of their parents. And I think this is where, when communities of family would be hanging out, that would be kind of the scenario. He never forgot that. And that was, I don't even know if it was last summer or the summer before now. No, it must have been last spring. That could have been the spring before, but either way, he never forgot it. And I'm going to say he's probably about 8 years old or 9. He could be 10, but he's of that age. But he never forgot. So when it comes to spending time, and there are other children, if you've got something neat to share, whether it's something you know about radios or something, anything, engage with the children, engage with the younger generation, and show them what you know. Show them what you've been able to learn and share that with them. They'll be ecstatic that you are. Some might warm up to it right away. Some just might be keenly listening. But that's really cool. Forget the drama and the world out round and what's going on outside. Just engage with the younger generation. There's so much knowledge, so much wisdom that we all have, and from whatever you have, and different for everyone, but just bring that to the younger generation. They'll love it. Trust me, they'll love it, on what you know, these interesting things. And you can only ask, and if they're not interested. I'm sure there's certain things, but do they have to be interested? No, they don't have to be interested that way. So what else do we usually do at Live at 5? We do some jokes. So I think that was it. The only thing, that's it, because I wasn't really doing in the news thing. I'm just really getting used to what Gab's all about, and these other platforms that are opening up. And there, so let's steal a couple of jokes anyway. Now, let me just see what we have here. I usually like to read it first before I read out loud, just in case I have it. Okay, here's one. I couldn't work out how to fasten my seatbelt. Then it clicked. Why aren't koalas bears? Why aren't koalas bears? They don't meet the qualifications. Cute one, light one, fuzzy one. This is a good one. What is a physicist's favorite food? What is a physicist's favorite food? Fish and chips. Fission chips. Yeah, fission, spelled Fission. Fission chips. Anyway, good one. So that's all for Saturday night. I hope everybody enjoys their wonderful Saturday night. And let's be grateful for those people, for sure, that are out there protesting week after week, sharing information, and especially those people that are, from a legal standpoint, standing up and helping out with the tickets. Now I hear that, I think I've already said this, the tickets they're not even being recorded. So if you go to court, they're not even recorded. So don't make a plea, because why would you? There's nothing recorded. They said, so they just say that. Don't argue with them. Don't pay them. Just plead not guilty and carry on. So enjoy your evening, and probably Monday for sure, live at 5. That's the usual, live at 5 Mondays. We'll see what kind of comes about there. See if I can get any information on Poland. See if something is available for that. But we have these things called different multi-languages, and they're probably written in at least Polish. So that may or may not filter over here. We'll see. We'll see if they have something in English. But take care, everyone. Enjoy your evening however you want. It's up to you. It's your choice. And that's really what a lot about this is about, is choice. So take care, enjoy, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.